The royal palace on Valoria was made of clear crystal that shone like stars. In the night sky above the palace, golden lights floated around the towers. Alien birds with glowing wings moved slowly through the air, making soft sounds. Inside the palace, everything was quiet, but the silence was not peaceful. Everyone in the royal court knew that war was coming closer each day. Princess Lyra sat near a large window in her chamber. She was young, graceful, and strong. Her silver hair fell down her back like a smooth river. Her golden eyes looked out into the dark night sky. Far away, she could see tiny dots of red and blue flashing enemy ships moving through space toward her world. She felt a heavy weight inside her heart. Her people needed her to be strong, but she was tired of war. Lyra was not just a princess. She was also the last hope of the Valorian Empire. Many years ago, her father made a secret bond with another world, Earth. A human warrior was chosen to be her future husband. 8. To make a bridge of trust between the two worlds. But everything changed when war broke out. The record of the chosen human was locked away. Lyra grew up without ever meeting him. She wore a golden pendant with a strange symbol on it. It was the royal bonding mark, the same mark that should be on the wrist of the man she was promised to. She had often stared at the pendant and wondered what kind of man he would be. A prince? A commander? A stranger? She did not know. She only knew one thing, that this bond might be the key to saving her people. But she also hated the idea of being forced into something she didn't choose. That night, she closed her eyes and whispered to herself, Valoria must not fall. It's far away from the Crystal Palace, in a human space station near a mining world. Captain Ethan Ward walked through a long steel hallway. His boots made a steady sound against the metal floor. He was tall, strong, and calm. His hair was dark, and his eyes were quiet and watchful. People respected him not because he shouted orders, but because he always stayed calm when everyone else panicked. Ethan was a decorated warrior. He had fought in battles across different star systems. He carried a scar on his left shoulder from a plasma blast. But there was something else, a strange mark on his wrist. It was a golden symbol burned into his skin many years ago. It had never faded. He did not fully remember where it came from. It was tied to a mission from his past that he could not clearly recall. Sometimes it glowed faintly when he was alone, when the call came from Valoria asking for help. Ethan was chosen to lead the mission. Many other soldiers wanted to go, but the High Council on Earth selected him. He didn't know why. He thought maybe it was because he had seen war many times and could protect the princess better than anyone else. He did not know that this mission would change his entire life. On Valoria, the Royal Council gathered in the Grand Hall. The king, old and tired, spoke in a weak but strong voice. Our enemy grows stronger. If we do not stand together, Valoria will fall. Earth has answered our call. Their soldiers will arrive tomorrow. Lyra stood beside her father, her hands tightly holding her pendant. She heard the whispers of the royal advisors behind her. They say the humans are brave, but unpredictable. They are not like us. They might not follow our ways. Lyra ignored their fears. She was more curious than afraid. She wanted to see these humans with her own eyes. The next day, the sky above Valoria filled with the sound of engines. A silver human ship broke through the clouds and slowly landed on the palace landing field. The wind rushed through the crystal trees as the ramp opened. Human soldiers in black and silver suits marched down in neat lines. At the front walked Ethan, his steps firm, his face serious but calm. The princess watched from the balcony with her royal guards. When she saw him for the first time, something inside her chest tightened. He was not like the princes she had met at political events. His steps were not soft and practiced. He walked like someone who had seen real war. His eyes were not proud or cold. They were calm and steady. It made her feel strange, a mix of fear and something warm she couldn't explain. The royal guards escorted the human team to the throne room. Lyra stood beside her father, wearing her royal robes. When Ethan entered, their eyes met for the first time. A sudden flash of light crossed between the pendant on her neck and the mark on his wrist. It was faint, but they both felt it. Ethan frowned slightly, confused. Lyra's heartbeat grew faster. She didn't say anything, but she could not look away. The king welcomed the humans politely. "Welcome to Valoria. We are grateful for your help." Ethan bowed slightly. "Earth stands with Valoria." The conversation continued about battle plans, defenses, and enemy fleets. Lyra tried to focus, but she kept glancing at Ethan. She saw the golden mark on his wrist and felt a strange pull toward it. That mark was the same as on her pendant. Could this mean? No, she pushed the thought away. It could not be. Later that evening, Ethan walked alone through the palace gardens. Crystal flowers glowed softly in the night, and the air smelled sweet. He looked at the mark on his wrist again. It glimmered faintly. His head ached a little, as if a memory was trying to return. But it stayed just out of reach. Princess Lyra appeared at the end of the garden path. She walked toward him slowly, her long dress flowing like water. The guards stayed behind at a distance. She wanted to speak to him alone. She stood a few steps away from him and spoke first. "You are Captain Ethan Ward," she said softly. "Yes," he answered. His voice was low but clear. "You have a mark," she said. Pointing gently at his wrist, Ethan raised his hand, showing the golden symbol. "I've had this for a long time. I don't know why. It never faded." Lyra took a deep breath and showed her pendant. It had the exact same symbol. For a moment, both of them just stood there, looking at the two matching marks shining in the moonlight. The air between them felt heavy and quiet. "Where did you get that?" Lyra whispered. "I don't remember," Ethan admitted. "A mission. Many years ago. I was injured. After that, everything about that time disappeared from my memory. All I know is, it's been with me ever since." Lyra's hands trembled slightly. Her mind was racing. Could this man really be the one chosen for her long ago? The royal bond was supposed to be a powerful connection, unbreakable even by time. But he didn't remember anything. How could she tell him the truth? Before she could say anything more, an alarm rang through the palace. Enemy ships had broken through Valoria's outer defense line. Soldiers rushed through the hallways. Ethan's calm face turned sharp. He spoke quickly through his communicator. Human squad moved to defensive positions. Lyra ran after him. She couldn't just hide in her chamber while her people were attacked. As they reached the balcony, they saw enemy fighter ships firing beams of blue light at the city's shield. Explosions flashed like stars in the sky. Royal guards took their positions. Ethan barked orders to his soldiers without panic. He moved like someone who had done this many times before. "Keep your heads down," he said. "No panic. No mistakes." One of the enemy ships broke through the shield and crashed near the palace gardens. Enemy warriors jumped out. They were tall, gray-skinned, and fast. The royal guards were brave, but they had never faced such direct combat. Panic started to spread. Ethan grabbed his blaster rifle and ran forward. "Stay behind me," he shouted. Lyra froze for a second. She wasn't used to being in the middle of a real fight like this. But Ethan didn't hesitate. He moved fast and smooth, covering the guards, helping them push back the attackers. He didn't need to shout or brag. His actions spoke louder than anything. In just a few minutes, the first wave of attackers fell back. Then something happened. An enemy fighter appeared behind Lyra, moving silently toward her. The guards didn't see it. Ethan did. Without thinking, he sprinted, grabbed Lyra around the waist, and pulled her to the ground just as a blast shot over their heads. His body shielded hers. For a second, they were so close, she could hear his heartbeat. Their eyes met again. In that brief moment, everything felt still. The glow from their marks flashed again, brighter this time. Lyra's chest filled with a strange warmth she didn't understand. Ethan stared at her with quiet confusion. He didn't know why protecting her felt so natural, as if he had done. It many times before, the enemy was pushed back with the help of human soldiers. The alarms stopped. The shield was repaired. The danger passed. But something inside Lyra had changed. She stood up slowly, still feeling the warmth where he had held her. She touched her pendant and whispered to herself, "Why him? Why now?" Ethan stood nearby, breathing heavily but calm. He had faced worse battles before, but something about this one felt different. When he looked at her, he felt a strange memory trying to break free. A night sky, 2 moons, a soft voice making a promise. But the memory slipped away like smoke. Later, in the palace strategy room, the royal advisor pulled Lyra aside. He was an old man with a serious face. "Your Highness," he said softly, "the mark. You saw it, didn't you?" Lyra's eyes widened. "You know what it means?" The advisor nodded slowly. "The human, with the matching bond mark, is not just a soldier. He is the one chosen years ago. Your bonded partner. Your future husband." Lyra felt her heart skip a beat. That cannot be true. He doesn't even remember. "The bond does not care about memory," the advisor said. "The bond is written into the heart." Lyra felt her breath catch. She walked back to her chamber in silence. She tuck. Ethan could not sleep that night. The palace room was quiet, but his heart was restless. He lay on the soft silver bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of the energy shields outside. The mark on his wrist still glowed faintly. It wasn't painful, just warm, like something alive. He closed his eyes and tried to remember. But every time he reached into his memory, he saw only a flash of light, a soft voice, a silver moon, and then darkness. It was like trying to grab smoke with his hands. He didn't understand why this princess he had just met made him feel something old and deep inside. On the other side of the palace, Princess Lyra was awake too. She stood at her balcony, looking out over the city. The shield light shimmered in the night like a blanket of stars. She touched the golden pendant that hung around her neck. It glowed softly. Her thoughts were a storm. Her heart kept returning to the moment Ethan held her in the garden during the attack. The way their marks lit up together, the way it felt safe in his arms, even in the middle of danger. She had never felt anything like it before. The royal advisor's words repeated in her head. He is the one. Your bonded partner, your husband. She shook her head. No, she whispered to herself. It cannot be that simple. He doesn't even remember me. How can he be my husband? But her heart whispered something else. It said, you already know. The next morning, the royal council gathered in the war chamber. A large star map floated in the air, showing the enemy fleet surrounding Valoria. More ships were coming. The Valorian defenses were falling piece by piece. If something didn't change soon, the enemy would take the planet. Lyra entered the chamber in her royal uniform, standing tall and strong. Ethan was already there with his soldiers, standing like a quiet mountain among the others. His calm eyes met hers for a moment. She quickly looked away. The council began to speak. We cannot hold the outer shield for long. The enemy will reach the royal city in 2 days. We must consider surrender. Lyra raised her voice. No, Valoria does not surrender. The room fell silent. She stood at the center of the star map. Her golden eyes burned like fire. If we give up now, we lose everything. Not just our land, our pride, our future. I will not let that happen. The king nodded weakly. He was proud of his daughter, but the situation was desperate. The enemy was too strong, and Valoria stood alone. Ethan listened quietly. Then he stepped forward. Earth didn't come here to watch you fall, he said calmly. We came to fight with you. We still have a chance, but we must fight smart, not just hard. Everyone turned to him. He pointed at the map. If we can push their main carrier out of orbit, their fleet will lose its shield control. That will give us a small opening to strike. But it will take both human and Valorian forces working together. Lyra's heart stirred as she watched him speak. He spoke with certainty, with quiet strength. She had seen many generals give speeches, but none like him. He made even the impossible sound real. The council slowly agreed. It was risky, but there was no other choice. Later, Lyra found herself walking alone in the palace garden again. This time, Ethan followed. The soft lights from the crystal trees made the night glow gently around them. You're not afraid, she said softly, not looking at him. He walked beside her. I've been afraid many times. But fear is not the same as giving up. She looked at his wrist again. The golden mark shimmered faintly in the soft light. She hesitated for a long moment, then finally spoke the words she had been holding inside. "That mark," she whispered. "It is not just a symbol. It is a bond. Many years ago, my father made a peace pact with Earth. A human was chosen to be my bonded partner, a union that would join our worlds. That mark belongs to him." Ethan froze. His heartbeat quickened. Lyra lifted her pendant. The marks shone together. The light between them pulsed softly like a heartbeat. "The chosen one is you, Ethan." He stared at her, shocked. "That's not possible." "I would remember something like that." She shook her head gently. "No, you wouldn't, because your memory was erased after the accident. But the bond remains. It is deeper than memory. It cannot be broken." His mind raced. The flashes he had seen, the silver moon, the soft voice, could it be her? He clenched his fists slowly. "So you're saying I was your husband all along?" Lyra nodded silently. Ethan looked away at the night sky. His chest felt heavy. He wasn't a prince. He wasn't someone who belonged in palaces. He was just a soldier. But at the same time, something inside him felt like a puzzle piece had just clicked into place. The warmth in his wrist was no longer strange. It was familiar. Lyra's voice trembled. "I don't expect you to accept it. I just wanted you to know the truth. You have always been a part of Valoria, even when you didn't remember." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Ethan said softly, "I may not remember the past, but I will protect you now. That much I know." The next day came fast. The enemy fleet advanced toward the royal city. The sky filled with dark ships, like a storm of metal. Alarms echoed through every corner of the palace. Soldiers rushed to their stations. Lyra stood in her command suit, ready for battle. She was no longer the quiet princess, staring at the stars. She was a leader now, standing beside her people. Ethan put on his black combat armor. He led the human strike team to the front lines. But this time, he wasn't just fighting as a soldier. He was fighting for something that was now part of him. As the fleet began its attack, explosions lit up the skies above the palace. The shields shook under the pressure. Ethan's voice came through the coms. Steady, strong, human unit, Valorian guard, move as one. We hit their carrier at the center. No hesitation. The battle was fierce. The enemy ships surrounded them like dark shadows. The Valorian fighters moved like silver arrows. The humans moved like steel wolves. Together, they were unstoppable. But the enemy was clever. Their main carrier released a giant pulse bomb that hit the shield generators. A blast wave knocked out most of the defenses. In the chaos, Lyra's ship was hit. She fell into a damaged corridor as alarms screamed around her. The royal guards were injured. She grabbed her sword and tried to stand. But a group of enemy soldiers broke in. Ethan heard the call. His heart pounded. He didn't think he moved. He rushed through smoke and fire, his team covering his back. When he reached the corridor, Lyra was surrounded. Her pendant glowed and so did his mark. Without fear, he charged forward. The light from their marks exploded like a small sun. The enemy soldiers were pushed back by the strange energy. Ethan caught Lyra before she fell. Their marks shone brighter than ever. "Are you all right?" he asked breathlessly. Lyra looked at him with wide golden eyes. "You remembered something, didn't you?" He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "A night under 2 moons. A promise. I held your hand and said I'd protect you." Tears formed in Lyra's eyes. "You remember?" "Not everything," he said softly, "but enough." So they ran together through the collapsing corridor, their steps matching like they had done it before. Outside, the battle raged on. Ethan reached the main control deck and shouted, "Target the enemy carrier." Now, the humans and Valorians launched their final strike together. The carrier exploded in a massive blast of light, and the enemy fleet began to break apart. Cheers filled the coms. But it wasn't over yet. One enemy warlord, furious at their victory, descended with a final strike team aimed at the palace itself. Ethan and Lyra stood at the front gates, shoulder to shoulder. The last battle was close and fierce, but not hopeless. When Lyra raised her pendant and Ethan raised his marked wrist, the bond between them glowed so strongly that it created a shield of golden light. Their soldiers saw it and shouted in joy. This was more than war. It was history being rewritten. Human and Valorian forces stood together as one. The enemy was finally defeated. The last ship turned and fled. Valoria was safe. The people filled the streets, cheering as the skies cleared. The palace bells rang, something that had not happened in years. The royal flag of Valoria and the flag of Earth waved together in the wind, in the throne hall. Lyra stood in her ceremonial dress, her silver hair shining. Ethan stood beside her in formal human uniform. The council and soldiers filled the room. The king stepped forward and spoke with a proud smile. The bond that was once hidden has returned. Valoria and Earth are united not just by war, but by heart. They returned to Ethan. For the first time, she did not see just a soldier. She saw the man who had promised her under the twin moons years ago. The man who had found his way back to her without even knowing. Ethan took her hand gently. The bond between their marks glowed warm and steady. He whispered softly, so only she could hear, "I may have forgotten, but my heart didn't." Lyra smiled, tears shining in her golden eyes. "Welcome home, my husband," the soldiers cheered. The people outside cheered. The entire planet celebrated that night, under the same two moons where it all began. Ethan and Lyra stood on the palace balcony together. The wind was gentle. The stars were bright. "I never thought I'd end up here," Ethan said quietly. Lyra looked at him. "Neither did I, but the bond never forgot." He touched the mark on his wrist. "This time I'll protect you not just because it's my duty, but because it's my choice." She smiled and leaned closer. The two moons reflected in her golden eyes. The war was over, but their story had just begun. The bond that was broken by time was rebuilt through courage, trust, and something deeper.